is very similar to my upbringing. This is the era of my childhood that I'm describing. It is partly a historical novel, you can say it at least set in this time, in this very important time in Norwegian history. But I also tried to make something common out of it. I'm describing the dramatic period of life called childhood, as it could occur anywhere, I think, in England, in Russia, in any time. So there's a mixture of a novel about childhood and a historical novel, so to speak. We found oil,
right?
Yes, in the beginning of the 60s. And before that, Norway was one of the poorest countries in Europe, with Portugal and Albania, because the country was totally destroyed during the Second World War. We lost our fleet, we lost our fishing boats, which was the main line of income for Norway up to that. And then it all started to change in the end of the 60s. We had built our first oil platforms, and we struck oil in the middle of the 60s. And in the beginning of the 70s, we started to earn money, real money. And today we are stinking rich, so to speak. It has changed the whole society. The way we are living, the way we are, I don't hope it has also changed the way we are thinking. But my father, he was very, very pessimistic about it. He said this will destroy the country. There will be no honor left. There will be no working class heroes after this. No honesty, no solidarity, nothing. Well, the ideas dates back to pre-war era, but they didn't get the real grip of society before after the war. But the first government after the war, from 54 on, 45 on, they were social democrats. So they governed the country for about 20 years without much opposition from the right-wing parties. But from 65 on, we have had different governments, a right-wing party and then the Social Democrats again, and vice versa, during the 70s and 80s up to now. And now we again have a Social Democratic government. As I said, we have become stinking rich, and I mean it. But we have, of course, also kept a lot of our ideas. We are still concerned about. I don't know the English expression is when you want to spread the wealth on the people. That's a very, very strong idea in Norway. And as I said in this foreword, it's we have lost our innocence, so to speak, but I don't think we yet have lost our soul. So there is a glue in Norwegian society. We are proud of our country. We are working together. There is a decent welfare state. But of course, the differences now between the so-called poor and the stinking rich is growing greater and greater and greater. So you can't say that being rich is a problem. Being rich is a challenge, and we are coping with it, I hope. Geography means that we are living spread out. It's it's a big country. It's bigger than England. But with only 5 billion people. So you can travel kilometers and kilometers without seeing a house. And there you see one single house, and then you go another mile or two, and then the next one. And this, of course, has something to do, or has been there to create the melancholy mind, so to speak, of the Norwegian man and woman, which is still very important. We like quietness. We like to be alone. Every Norwegian who's living in the city has a summer house somewhere in the middle of the forest or on the coast where no one else is. So we still have this romantic feeling about being on our own somewhere in the nature. That's very, very. That's a strong motivation for us. Of course, I feel Norwegian, but I feel European too. And my heroes, when it comes to literature, they are not necessarily Norwegian. I love the old Icelandic sagas, but I also love Gintergas and Dostoevsky and Japanese writers as well. So I'm a citizen of the world actually, but of course I have my own identity, shaped by my childhood in Oslo and on the coast of northern coast of Norway. We have spent well, nearly as much time as in the south. So, and that's more important than travel, of course, from my experience. But of course, you feel some kind of relationship or part of at least with the Finnish and the Icelandic writers. We have, so to speak, a club, keeping a little distance to our rivals in Sweden and Denmark for historical reasons, of course. Well, the history being the fact that we are the small brothers. Iceland, Finland, and Norway, we are colonies historically, whereas Denmark and Sweden, they are colonic powers. We were ruled by them. So of course this is some kind of underdog identity that unites the Finns and the Icelanders and the Norwegians. And we like to keep it that way, to play that role. And so there is a humorous rivalry between these three and Sweden and Denmark. Well, my first effort, I think I was 11. I was reading Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. And I thought it had such a sad ending, so I sat down and I wrote an alternative ending to that beautiful novel, a happy ending. I wanted every book to have happy endings, so I started off at 11 to rewrite the endings of all the sad books that I read. I think I did 10 to 12 alternative endings to quite famous novels, Jack London, for instance. But that was, that means that I like to read, and also discovered that I like to write. And I guess I started up as a kid because I wanted to make the world a better place to be. But as a serious writer, I started up when I was about 20, when I left the university. I was studying mathematics for just 1 year at the University of Oslo, and I went up north to do whaling, and I was a fisherman for several years, a teacher. I was building houses, and besides that, I started to write. And my debut came when I was 26. I think this is a volume of short stories. My first novel the year after. This was in 1982, 83. And then I knew I really was a writer, and I cannot be anything else. I once met Saramago, José Saramago, who is really a hero of mine. He has always been. I don't read Portuguese, of course. Yeah, I once met him, but he speaks only Portuguese and some very, very bad French. And I doesn't speak Portuguese, but some bad French. But after the meeting, I had the impression we hadn't met at all. And it was a very, very disappointing experience. But at least I could tell him how much I love his books. But apart from that, I would like to meet him and be able to talk to him. It depends. You can choose by yourself whether you want to be in the media or not. I tend to be there because I'm interested in politics and to express my meaning. So I take part in debates and I write columns and stuff. So I'm pretty well known through that too. My biggest success until now is a novel called The Victors, and that's a family history. Describing the life of a family, of a woman actually, as a little child. She was born up north in a small fisher village, and her upbringing in a very, very, very poor society, with her father who was a fisher and a farmer on a very small piece of land on the coast, on the North Atlantic coast. And this was before electricity, and this is in the 20s. And like so many other women or girls at 13, 14, they were sent away to one of the big mother came as a 14-year-old woman to Oslo in '36, and at that time she hadn't even seen a light bulb. She didn't know what electricity was, and this says something about the huge changes that we have experienced in the 20th century in Norway. And the woman in the book happens to have an identical history with my mother. And the woman in the book, the girl in the book, is then working for rich families in the city, and meeting a man, experiencing the war, the German occupation from 40 to 45, the resistance, and after that she gets three kids, 3 boys, and the second part of the novel is described as a first-person story told by her youngest son, from 1954 on, when he's born, and through this old age, and it ends up, all 3 of them ends up like they are working with computers in the beginning of the 90s. But of course, and this drama, this is really a drama. You have 3 generations here that are where everything got turned upside down in Norway, and these 3 generations, and you have this particular literary challenge, or it's actually a real party when you have these 3 boys trying to understand their grandfather, which of course lived in the Stone Age compared to the society that they lived in. So you have a lot of beautiful contrasts to work with, both literary and also historically. And this novel came out in '91 and became a huge success in Norway, my biggest success until now. And I thought after that, this is a memory-based kind of literature for me, because this is literature. This is not autobiography, but it's very close to my own experience. After that, I thought I was finished with this. I've been working on this novel for 3-4 years, and was so fed up with everything that has had to do with this period. But 18 years later, I finally discovered that I still had a little kid inside me, probably why I turned 50. And this story came to my mind, and this is, so to speak, the little sister of the Liquid Victors, I like to call it that. And when I was working on this one, I was thinking that maybe I will write also a 3rd novel in this, and make it a trilogy out of it. But I think I have to wait maybe 5 years.